Welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Danny Kanell. I'm Chip Patterson. Bud Elliott has submitted his bowl locks. So don't worry, you will be able to come get all of these sicko locks. I've got them in hand as Bud Elliott. For those of you who watched the signing day recap show, as you know, he was in Fort Lauderdale. He had to make it all the way home. You know, he is being a real dad of the year, recruiting analyst of the year. So I've got his picks to make sure that you're going to be able to get them. And of course, we've got all of our locks for you to come and get. A reminder that we are using these Thursdays. We're trying to keep you in the regular rhythm and the rotation of 11 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to come and do essentially like the next week's worth of games. So we're going to take you all the way through the Gasparilla Bowl, and we're going to move chronologically for those of you who are jumping in and listening to this at different times. But before we do, I do want to get the opinion of Danny Kanell and Tom Fornelli because Bud Elliott and I got to discuss Travis Hunter's flip from Florida State to Jackson State, the biggest storyline on National Signing Day. DK, I think that, and Barton says hi. I don't know if y'all saw that, but
I got to watch it. I want to see it.
I'm just happy Barton was wearing that shirt that he always wore on the show that I was like, well, that does just not seem like a Barton shirt, but Barton loves that shirt.
It's like a it's like a poncho.
It's like hobo chic or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I thought we were working in a professional work environment, Barton.
He did, like, he pulled up the screen and you can see him. He kind of like almost has to get close. He goes, "Where's DK and Tom?" So he sends along his best. It was awesome to be able to have him, give us an insight into Vanderbilt and also just catch up with a friend. So DK, your personal thoughts also, but then, as we get to like, what's the group chat looking like? Other like members of the Florida State family as things are starting to, evolve and move very quickly throughout Wednesday. What'd you think about one of the biggest recruiting stories of the modern era?
It's bombshell. It's crazy. And I do think, like, not only does it impact Florida State, but this is one of those wild, like maybe once every 20 years type of stories that we hear about. I don't think this is going to become the norm. But so you guys know, I was out yesterday because I was traveling. I was in Tallahassee the day before this went down, the day before signing day. And I went in, I saw Coach Norvell, talked to Odell, a couple of my guys. Ron Dugans is wide receiver coach. He was my receiver when I was there. So I was around there and hey, how's the class looking? And man, there was a lot of optimism. There's a ton of optimism. Everybody's fired up, feeling great. Hey, we're going to get a couple of these swing votes. And I don't follow recruiting, but I was familiar with Travis Hunter. And so I was like, hey, is Travis good to go? And they're like, yeah. Like, not even a sliver of doubt that he was the guy and that he was committed. And he's been asked about it all offseason and all football season. Because when they start 0-4, you're like, oh, how committed is he? And he was null for life. So this was a shock to everyone involved. No one saw this coming. And it's kind of crazy that in today's world that this could fly under the radar and truly be a bombshell. And even when because Deion went on Barstool Radio Tuesday and said, I'm going to shock the world. And I think people were like, yeah, okay, you can bring somebody in there or whatever. Like, okay, Deion. And he did. So I think it's a tough blow, clearly, to Florida State. I don't think this is Mike Norvell's fault. I mean, I like, the fire Mike Norvell chat and fans saying, oh, this is his fault. Like, you got out recruited. I don't buy that. I mean, there's only so many things you can take a kid at his word. And if he changes his mind, this is the business you're in. This is what happens when you're dealing with, especially in today's environment, 17, 18-year-olds. They're fickle, and who knows exactly what went on behind the scenes. But you got to wish them the best, say good luck, and you got to try to keep that momentum going. I will say this, the class is still 13th last I checked, which is pretty impressive, for a team
top
that finished
3
5
in the ACC. Like, you're really only talking about North Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State. North Carolina finished top 10, but Florida State still, ahead of, the other 11 teams in the conference.
Yeah. So it's a rough blow. I don't think it's the end of the world. Like, and when was the last time a corner, brought a team a national championship? Has that ever happened? There's been impactful players. It's a team game. So I would say the faster you can move on from this, Florida State fans, the better everyone's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. It's a weird story. It was kind of like it blew up, obviously, and it was the biggest story of recruiting. And it's just like, I guess this is the new chapter of like Alex Collins' mom, players like that. It's like, but it's just different now, or maybe it's the same exact thing, except now we know what it is. Like maybe some parents were upset with their children making certain decisions based on some stuff that was happening under the table and what that was costing them. And now it's come to the light of day. But like I tweeted it as a joke yesterday, but it wasn't really a joke. I preferred my recruiting payments under the table. I'd like
Did
to
you hear Jimbo? I didn't hear it live, but Bud filled me in that Jimbo, and listen, this is the swagger of a man who just is like in the running for the #1 class and who feels like he just got a win over Nick Saban this past year. Like final record wasn't great, but surging confidence for Jimbo Fisher to be on the Paul Feinbaum show saying, yeah, we've had NIL, like wink, wink, like we've had it for years.
Yeah, it is hilarious now that coaches be like that they can just go on there and say stuff like that. It's like, oh wow, so we can admit everything that we all knew was happening all along, and it has been for a long time. It's just, I don't know. I hope it works out for him. I hope everything that they're doing works out. I feel like the money is important. Like again, we don't even know the details really. Like there's been a lot of speculation, but we don't have any firm, solid facts of what's going on. But just whatever decisions everybody's making, I hope they're making both the correct short-term decision for themselves financially, but I hope there's a little more consideration into the long term.
That's where, a guy like Dabo Swinney, who tries to say that, just gets roasted because he sounds like he's 97 years old and is living in the 1940s. But he brings up some really valid points. Decisions based only on money typically turned out to be bad decisions. Now, you might have some financial security, but if that's the only factor that's coming into play, I would caution against that. Now, there are great options out there where you can have the best of both worlds, and it remains to see how that works out with Travis Hunter. I'm curious to know too what the deal looks like and where did the money come from. And I know, Tom, we were talking earlier, like you talked to Big Cat, I talked to him today. They're denying, Portnoy denied at Barstool, like, hey, we had nothing to do with it. I'm not buying that. There's something more to this than just, I want to go with Prime and I want to change, the way people view HBCUs. I am a skeptic. So we'll see. Maybe it's wrong, but I highly doubt that's the situation that's unfolded.
Well, there's also, there is the unique position that so many recruits do not experience. And in fact, a majority of recruits do not experience the privilege that comes with being a truly special and unique football player, where you play football doesn't actually impact whether the NFL is going to be able to come and find you, right? Like the pitch for so many of the top programs in the country are to say, like, I am your best path to the NFL. And Travis Hunter's probably like, I am my best path to the NFL. It is me. And you get some ownership here. And so I think that the fact that it seems like the system is breaking and college football's in danger, like we're just getting shaken up a little bit, We'll see how things fall.
I got buddies of mine who are rabid college football fans, and they're not Florida State fans. And they've texted me, this is ruining the game. And I have a hard time with that because I'm like, are you sure? Like, why? Like, we had NIL July 1st. We had a whole season of college football. Did anybody notice? And it might have been the most entertaining season we've seen in 10 to 20 years. Like, this season was phenomenal. So, yeah, I get it. But I think what Tom said, I think a lot of people probably are coming to grips with that when you didn't really hear about it, it didn't bother you as much. Even though we all know it was going on, it just didn't feel as icky, I guess. But isn't that how America works? I mean, any one of us, I won't name any other podcast companies or any companies, but if any of us were offered the most amount of money, it was significantly more, we'd probably be like, see you guys, and we wouldn't be mad at each other. It'd be like, congrats, way to go get the money. And yet and we don't even do it with coaches. Like, no one even gets really mad at coaches for doing the same thing, but we treat the players differently. And I get it. they haven't really proven it yet, but do they prove it in Major League Baseball when they get drafted, out of high school? No, it's a weird dynamic. And I think again, like the faster people just come to the grips with this is how it's going to be and sort of embrace it. It is. I do think it was very interesting. Did you guys, if you got to hear Jimbo's chuckle, because he gives a good chuckle on that interview with Feinbaum, and it's a knowing chuckle that's there. And I do think it's sort of ironic because Lane Kiffin also was one who spoke earlier this week and said free agency is here and transfer portal guys are going where the most money is. That all of a sudden, these high profile coaches are very vocal and out front, but there are some things that are still, and this is what's frustrating to some coaches, is it's very unclear legally what you're able to do because by state it varies. So, for instance, you're not allowed in the state of Florida to orchestrate an NIL deal as the school itself. So if Mike Norvell gets a call and he's talking to Travis Hunter trying to make sure he comes to Florida State, and Travis Hunter says, well, I'm getting X, or Mike Norvell tries to, he can't say, well, let me get these guys on the phone, we'll match, so it's a tricky situation and no one really knows like who's taking, maybe, and if I was a school, I would be pushing the limits to the max, saying, what is anybody going to do? And the NCAA comes down and they're trying to look at Miami for the deal with the workout company. And of all places, they're going to BYU to investigate the program that was given to walk-ons. Like, are you kidding me? I would be pushing the envelope saying, hey, this is the way it is. If you guys want to take whatever away, you want to punish us, good luck. But I would be pushing the envelope. And I think the teams that are going to be the ones that have the more success recruiting and getting players in there sooner.
Yeah, the just do the Auburn 2009-2010 method. Just go for it. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and Penny Hardaway did that at Memphis with basketball, didn't he? I mean, he was kind of like, "What are you guys gonna do? I'm gonna keep playing them."
Oh my gosh, James Wiseman, that is right. All right, we have about a dozen or so games that will get us through the next week of bowl action. Gentlemen, y'all ready to lock it up?
Let's do it.
We're picking locks. My Blue Plate special 5-star locks are coming.
Since 2005, when Service Academy's
Come get these locks. 5-star master lock. Lock it up.
The under is 33-9-1. We've gone over it a million times.
You want these locks?
I'm living and dying every point, every cover.
Again, we are going to be trying to make it easy on you, the listener, whenever you get this. So we're going to be moving in chronological order, starting with the Bahamas Bowl. We're going to Nassau, Middle Tennessee, and Toledo. This game was not played last year, so very excited to get that fine, Bahamas view on our screens, getting it going right about midday on Friday. Let's see who ended up getting the bid for this. I think we got some Kevin Nagandi. Might even have like Booger got to go to Bahamas. I mean,
I think it might be Matt Berry because he was doing a lot of Thursday night games from studio. I think they're letting him out. Like they're
this is
poor guy's been stuck in. I think because
Berry enters the sun.
I think it's him. I'm not sure, but I think he's on the call.
All right. I only say that because I feel like it's a coveted assignment.
Oh yeah,
to be able to go kick it in the Bahamas and watch a little Conference USA MAC action. So Toledo favored by about 10 points. Our over under around 50.5. Does anybody have a lock for the Bahamas Bowl? Chip, lay them with the Rockets. This is a great time to introduce one of my principles, which I will be riding at times, but also ignoring, like many. I think that when the odds makers show you that one team is way better and it's a bowl game, sometimes you just lay them because Middle Tennessee, much love to you, Jordan, but Middle Tennessee has watched the film all season and knows that Toledo's a better football team. And in fact, if not for some disappointing close losses for Toledo through the season, Toledo should have been playing for a MAC championship game. It's one of the best offenses in the MAC, one of the best defenses in the MAC. And while Middle Tennessee does lead the nation in takeaways, and that could be problematic, guess what? Toledo leads the nation in not turning the ball over. It's like the one strength that Middle Tennessee has here is also something that Toledo is not going to feed into. when you get into the later stages of games that are lopsided in the bowl season, like you could argue quit. You could argue the coaches just want to make sure nobody gets hurt. The leverage has been decided. We're just going to play this thing out and send everybody home healthy with their bowl swag bag. This to me has one of those feels where Toledo has been the better team for most of the season. And I'm going to trust that they're going to be able to pull away late. So give me Toledo and I will lay the 10 points.
Well, huge update. It is Kevin Nagandi, Booger McFarland, and Katie George calling the game on ESPN. So sorry, Barry.
He's stuck in studio again in Bristol.
They're keeping you in the cage, buddy. I don't know. I just feel like 10's a little too much. And Middle Tennessee is like one of those teams that's just all year long has been so difficult to get a read on. So I guess in that sense, they're like the perfect bowl team because bowl games are so much more difficult to read. But I will say Bahamas, an island, Caribbean, that time of year.
Windy.
Temperatures are going to be in the upper 70s, but right now the forecast calls for 12 to 13 mile per hour winds. So that's something to keep an eye on heading into Friday morning.
Early trend I noticed, because I did a early pick selection for HQ earlier in the week. I was leaning a lot of overs because these teams are bad. And you know why they're bad? They don't play much defense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I know you got like they're bad on offense too, but I was leaning towards a lot of overs. I don't have a play in this one. This game also has been a little wacky for whatever reason. Like there have been some wild finishes in this one too. I don't have a play in it, but I don't know. I probably would lean the over. It's pretty low too, 49.5, but I don't have a play.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, while there's no like set trend year to year, I will say unders are typically better in the regular season as far as winning more often. Once you get to the bowl season, overs tend to hit a lot more often.
I think there's a give a crap factor. Like we always talk about who wants to be there. Like those defenders, they just want to get out of there healthy. Like that's priority number one. And the offensive guys, a lot of times you're more opportunity to impress. It's just, I don't know. I feel like it's definitely leans towards offense in the bowl season.
The night game of Friday is the Cure Bowl, and we will be in Orlando, Florida for Northern Illinois and Coastal Carolina. The Chanticleers favored by about 10.5 points. Anyone got a lock for this one?
I do.
Go for it.
Taking the same kind of approach you took for the last game. I'm taking Coastal and laying the points. I think that Northern Illinois is a very good story. It's a fun turnaround going from winless last year in the COVID-shortened season to winning the MAC this season and doing so in kind of like, heart attack fashion where 7 of their 9 wins were one-score games. But I just don't think this is a very good matchup for the Huskies because they're similar on offense in that while they go about it in different ways, both Coastal and Northern run the ball predominantly. It's what they do, but defensively there is a huge gap between these teams. Like Northern Illinois' rush defense is awful. Coastal's defense is good. So 2 running teams going against each other. One of them has a good run defense. The other one has a bad run defense. I think we know how that goes in most cases. So I'm going to lay the points with Coastal.
Bud jumping in here. He has Coastal NIU under 64.5. His note here, both teams should look to pound it on the ground. 2 running teams, clock moves a little bit. So we'll get Bud in there for the under on Coastal Northern Illinois. Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. A little bit of a nice little morning kick in Boca Raton at FAU Stadium. App State favored by 3 over Bailey Zappi and Western Kentucky. Over under set at 67.5. Both these teams made the conference championship game, but neither of them won. But, we're talking about 2 very quality programs. Who's got a lock for the Boca Bowl?
I got a lock. I got a question though for you guys.
Okay.
Sure.
It's down the street. I went last year, but it was at a nighttime game. It was night. I got offered again, really tight with some of the people that helped bring the bowl there. But I also have a 9-year-old soccer tournament. Now I could be rushing back and forth. Like I go soccer game, Boca Bowl, back. Is it worth it? Or do I just relax? Like, is this one of the ones you go check out?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best bowl games of the first week. I'm not trying to add stress.
I know.
And I'm not trying to lay a snare for you, my friend. I do not
I
want to trap
I
you.
think I can pull it all off. It's just
Okay.
going to be a lot of run around. Last year was Zach Wilson. Like, I've sat there with Mike Tannenbaum, who'll probably be there, and you get to see Bailey Zapp. So maybe have to
I'm just worried you won't make it back to the soccer. That's what I'm saying, that you're playing in soccer, Boca Bowl soccer, and I'm worried that it's like soccer, Boca Bowl. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. I mean, it was a great game.
Yes. We'll work that out in the family front. All right, I'm going to go with Bailey Zappi. I mentioned him. Talking to Tyson Helton, he wants Joe Burrow's record. They want to he's at 56 touchdown passes, I believe, right now. He wants the 60. I think they're going to do anything and everything to get it. I think Western Kentucky's a really good football team. Not that App State is not. But I'm going to go with the underdog here, getting the 3 points.
Fight.
Never lost. The Appalachian State Mountaineers have never, ever lost a bowl game. Now, they've only been an FBS team for just a little bit, but a 6-0 record in bowl games as a program for the Mountaineers. This is go back all the way to the FCS national championship runs. At one point, they had won 13 postseason games in a row across that run before, I think in 2009, like in the quarters or something, it finally ended up getting snapped. And I think that I am riding a little bit of just sort of like, this is what we do, program principle, and App State being a very good team. I think that ultimately App is more balanced run pass. App is more balanced offense defense, but I think it's going to be a fantastic game. However, I do think that the way that App wins this game is by leaning on the ground game, playing a little keep away. So I'm also going to be locking up the under at 67.5, doing that terrifying dance of taking an under in a Western Kentucky game. I know what I'm doing. I know it's risky, but Tom, can we get a winds check for 11 a.m. sun high in the sky in Boca Raton?
There will be some wind. It will be between 10 and 13 miles per hour as of now, but it's Florida. That could change in 30 seconds.
It's going to be breezy. That's what it'll be, breezy.
And Bud Elliott is going to make it a bar fight and jump in on App -3.
Ooh. So you guys are going with Chase Bryce?
Yeah.
Man. So I got the guy who just led the country in passing yards, like lit it up. And you got the guy who's on his third school who does have a little bit of a turnover issue. I'll take my chances.
Oh, man. Loyal Cover 3 listener Stu he's ridden the Chase Bryce roller coaster where he's been like, you guys are being too mean to him. And then like the Louisiana game happened and he came back and he was like, yeah, sorry about that. And then he had the huge game. I think it was against Coastal. Remember when he was throwing bombs down the field? He's like, Chase Bryce is back. And then you're like, oh, okay. Well, so yeah, I understand what I'm doing, riding the Chase Bryce roller coaster, but it's a very funny and very apt point from you. All right, 2:15. So we're going to be getting going again at 11 a.m. on Saturday. 2:15, UTEP and Fresno State. Fresno favored by 11.5. Anybody got a lock here?
I do.
Go for it.
I'm taking the over 51.5. This is a numbers play because my numbers have this total closer to 54, and that's some pretty decent value for a bowl game, and that's where I'm going to go. And I also I do have some concerns though. So I'm telling you my numbers tell me to do this, but there's a lot of change at Fresno. Caleb DeBoer is gone. I don't know what the situation is with Jake Haener right now. Like, he was transferring, now he's not transferring, or he's still transferring. He's just not going to Washington. I don't know. So the Fresno State offense could be a problem for this game. So maybe taking UTEP is the smarter play. But I just think defensively, these are two teams that are vulnerable to the other team. So it's not a great matchup for either side. So I'm going over.
Fight.
Not from me.
Wow.
From Bud. And I'm not going to do a good Bud impression, but I'm just going to guess that we've got a numbers battle here. I'm going to jump out on a limb, and I'm going to say that when he puts UTEP Fresno under 52.5, he's looking, it's like Yeah, I would have made this about 51.5. Like, he's on the other side of it.
Let me hop in with Bud.
Oh,
that under.
What?
Yes.
Let's go.
It's not the same tally. You can't catch Tom. This is a brand new competition.
I know.
But you like the under?
I'm going to lean this one as well. You know what's great is, I travel mostly to New York City, which isn't a hotbed of college football fans. So, like, I'll see people, maybe there's a Giants fan who recognize me. But I was at the Army-Navy game, which you guys did a great job. And then I was in Tallahassee. So I've been in college football heaven, like at two of these great rivalries. And I walk around and people are like, hey, cover 3. Love you guys on cover 3. You know what most of them say? They're like, Bud's a machine. That guy, Bud, what a machine he is, because he's crushed it this year. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, if you follow any one of us, I'm like, go take Bud's picks. And they're like, oh, his system. They all want to know about his system. So I'm going to ride on Bud's coattails here. But I did have it noted as a potential play. So that kind of put me over the top.
Like, fade Fresno from being as good on offense as it's been? Would that be the...
I also think, there's question marks. I mean, like, I do think there's some concern about what direction this thing is going to go. There's a lot of uncertainty here in this one.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think the listeners should know about every single bowl game. It's so much more difficult to bet bowl games than it is regular season games, because there are so many different factors that you don't have to consider during the regular season that you now suddenly have to consider. And even the sports books, like, their lines are sometimes they're going to seem way off. Sometimes they're going to seem way on. Like, they don't have as tight of a handle on what's going to happen either. They can only go on what their numbers are telling them. So it is a wild time. Just try to have fun during bowl season. Don't expect to win a whole lot.
Yeah, exactly. We're just pushing it around. We're just pushing some money around, a little bit here, a little bit there, all on the ledger. Again, Saturday's just absolutely loaded. 3:30 p.m. Eastern time on ABC. We will have the Indepence Bowl. BYU and UAB, the Cougs are favored by 7, over under of 54.5. Anyone got a lock?
I do. I am on another over. The over 54.5. Honestly, this is a situation where part of the thought process for me behind this one is I wouldn't be surprised if BYU does most of the damage here itself as far as getting to the total.
That's my lock, by the way. I'm go ahead.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, UAB is also good enough where I think that they could take advantage of the BYU defense. So I am not entirely comfortable taking the Cougars to cover the spread. Instead, I think this one, as long as it's under 56, I feel like it's a pretty solid play to go over, because I do think this one can get a little not wet, but wild.
Yeah, I'm going to take BYU -7, sort of similar to the Toledo principle earlier. I just think these are two teams on way different levels. I don't know if I know that sometimes they will factor in a travel advantage, so it's not quite a home field advantage, but there's no way that this game being played in Shreveport is going to get the same kind of treatment as BYU has to come from Provo, while UAB is going to be coming from Birmingham. But while UAB has sort of as a program and as a team been a group that defensively could somewhat slow Jaron Hall, Tyler Algier, I just think that eventually over the course of 4 quarters, even if they get off to a sluggish, slow, body clock, travel across the country type start, UAB does not have the horses to be able to keep up with BYU's offense. So that's why I'm going to lay the points.
I can get you 6.5, by the way.
Let's go.
Wait. You mentioned something there. Give me the under.
Oh,
let's lock it up. Let's fight. Let's fight it out.
Fight.
I just want to fight me all the time.
No, I don't. You mentioned Tyler Algier, who's awesome. He's been spectacular. UAB has the #1 rushing defense in their conference. I think they want to try to make this game ugly, because I think they realize they have an advantage. They're disadvantaged with horses. I mean, you mentioned it. I don't think they have as good of athletes, but what they do have is consistently one of the better defenses in the country. I would lean towards laying the points with BYU, but I just feel like UAB's game plan is going to be to try to make this thing ugly, run the football, stop the run, put it on their shoulders, which I think leads to a lower scoring game.
The lending
overs are coming.
The
Sounds
Linden,
like overs. Yeah, let's go.
Barton Simmons' appearance has inspired Tom to take some overs, says Derek in the chat.
Mhm.
Yeah, the over army, the general checked in and everything's gone crazy. All right. The LendingTree Bowl has Eastern Michigan going up against Liberty. So we will be in Mobile for this one. The line is Liberty minus 9.5, over under of 58.5.
I'm not locking anything up,
But
but I would rather be on Eastern Michigan. Is Malik Willis playing in this game?
Yes, that's
Yes,
why I'm
yes.
locking up Liberty.
Okay.
Okay.
I still
Give me
think
Liberty.
all right, you're taking I can get you 8.5.
There we go. I love it. I just was looking it up before the show started. He wants to finish out his season with his guys. That to me tells you he realizes he has to have one more good impression for the NFL scouts as he's going to try to impress for the draft coming up. Still think he's one of the more dynamic players. I don't think the season unfolded quite the way he would have wanted to, but coming back to playing this game tells me he's going to be on a mission. I think his teammates will appreciate that. And I also think his coach will appreciate that too and allow him to put on a show of sorts.
Yeah, my concern is that like Malik Willis is still there, obviously, and he's still an NFL talent. It's just I feel like the rest of that team is not nearly as good as it was last year.
But against like an Ole Miss, it gets exposed. But I think in this type of game against this type of opponent, I think Malik Willis can do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
My lean is to Danny's side. I'm not going to make it a lock, but my angle is less Malik Willis and more Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is a plus value bowl coach. At Liberty so far, he's 2-0, winning 2 Cure Bowls. He won the Sugar Bowl in 2015, lost the Peach Bowl in 2014, won the Music City in 2013, won the Compass Bowl in 2012. So, I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5-1 record in bowl games. And I think that this is where Hugh Freeze, as someone who we looked at as an innovative offensive mind or as a good offensive coach, game plan, or play caller, maybe all that time for preparation to be able to get some matchup specific advantages could come into play. But the inconsistencies of Liberty throughout the season are ultimately why I'm not firing it. But I do like where your head's at, DK. I would lean that way myself. All right. The Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. Congrats, James Kimmel. We'll be in SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, Utah State and Oregon State. Oregon State favored by 7, over under of 67.5. Who's got a lock?
Well, first of all, I can't believe we're just letting people sponsor games now. What has become of this sport that we love?
Yeah. And then we got to come around and we've got to get a cover 3 bowl. That's the next step for us.
I got one. I'm locking up Utah State plus 7.5. They play hard. And I also think that offensively, like I was considering the over in here too, but it's like I feel like coming in and taking like an over 67 is just something I'm not comfortable doing as a human being. But I think this could be kind of a shootout in which neither team is ever really capable of pulling away from the other, because Oregon State's offense is good. Its defense, I think it's got the better of the two in this matchup, but it's not exactly a reliable defense. And I think this is a Utah State team that offensively has been solid all season. And I think that, coming off look what they were able to do to San Diego State in the Mountain West Championship game. And that's a good San Diego State defense. If they're able to do that to the Aztecs, I think they're going to be able to put up points against the Beavers. So give me the Aggies plus 7.5.
Fight.
So I've got 2 people's picks here, Tom. And Danny, you can weigh in here too. Which one of us do you think is out here on Utah State and which one of us is on Oregon State?
Sure, I know.
Huh? You think you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Chips on Oregon State.
I'm going to say Chips
the
on
other
Utah
way.
State. Yeah.
Yeah, they fight. Utah State fights. They never stop competing. They don't quit. Logan Bonner. I love the Utah State just sort of mojo and confidence coming off of thrashing San Diego State in that Mountain West Championship game. The culmination of the season. I understand Oregon State has its own excitement. Hey, we're bowl eligible, and Jonathan Smith has gotten us there. The success that the Beavers have had make them have as much motivation as you are going to see from Utah State. I love this game because I don't see much quit factor from either one of these teams. but I do think that Utah State is going to be able to win this game. And with 7 points or 7.5 points, it sounds like that I can get. I understand why the numbers say that it's 7 points, but it's a coin flip game to me. I truly think that either one of these teams has about the same chance to win. So give me the Aggies, and Bud's numbers say I'm an idiot, I guess, because he's got Oregon State -7.
Bud's numbers can't measure heart.
I'm going to take the under in this one. Oregon State's going to have success running the football on Utah State. Utah State has struggled to get off the field all year long, and I think Oregon State wants to take advantage of that. I don't trust. I think it was Boise State, the Utah State, Boise State. I was in studio.
We had it on CBS.
It was CBS Sports Network, and
bad Utah State game.
Yeah, your guy Logan Bonner was struggling to find the right jerseys. That one still like kind of impacts me. So I'm not gonna take a side. I'm gonna tackle the under. Again, another underplay for me as I was coming in here talking about all the offense.
And then the nightcap on a loaded Saturday, it is Louisiana and Marshall in the New Orleans Bowl. The Raging Cajuns favored by 5, over under of 55. Anybody got a lock?
Give me Marshall and the points.
Mm-hmm.
I think the spread's too big. I also think Billy Napier is left. He's at Florida, just wrapped up the recruiting class, did a pretty good job, solid job saving it, saving them from Dan Mullen's, dumpster of a recruiting class, or however Florida fans were framing it at the time. And I just wonder, when it comes to the bowl season, we talked about how motivated will Louisiana be to be in this game? It's in New Orleans, so it's not like they're traveling or going anywhere. They're pretty much staying home, playing in a game they've played in. Meanwhile, Marshall, Charles Huff's first year, coming in, probably want to end the season on a good note. Louisiana's probably in a position where it just wants to end the season and start moving on. And so I think Marshall's got more motivation. I think there's probably been a little bit more focus and practice leading up to this game. So give me the herd and the points.
Who's coaching for Louisiana? Is Napier sticking around and double duty? So. And yeah, I think he is. I think he's going to finish what he started, but yet he's recruiting and working in Gainesville at the same time. I get nervous with these actually when you because I think the assumption that coach is gone means the team's going to play bad is a scary assumption.
We promoted Desmero.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Is that what they did?
DeZormo.
Sorry. Desmero. It's Michael DeZormo with the promotion to being the full-time head coach. According to the Louisiana game notes, he is the team's head coach. Career record 0-0. So this will be his first game.
Napier stuck around to coach the conference championship game. That's what he did because he took the job the week of, but he stuck around for that and he bolted after the bowl, which I don't have a problem with. But I don't put too much into the coaching is not there. That was kind of going to be my point. Even if he was there or not there, I think we put way too much emphasis on that aspect of it. I think the players can use this as a us against the world approach too, rather than, I don't have a good feel for this one. I don't have a play in it.
Okay. So then that brings us to Monday. Monday, we are going to be going to Myrtle Beach, Conway, South Carolina, Old Dominion and Tulsa. Tulsa favored by 9.5, over under of 52.5. Too many daggum points for Tulsa to get in this game. You're going to let Tulsa have 9.5 whole points? Gracious. Ricky Ronnie didn't take the whole 2020 season off to show up in a bowl game in 2021 and get beat by double digits by Tulsa. No. I'm telling you that the warm wind, and I understand that Tulsa is very used to wind as well, but it's a different kind of wind out there in Oklahoma. But what Old Dominion gets up in the 757, up in the Tidewater kind of area of Virginia, it's that same kind of Atlantic swampy wind that you're going to face down there in Myrtle Beach. I like the Monarchs to just, more than anything, this is an idea that ODU is going to be able to keep this thing close. I do not trust Tulsa with a 9.5 point spread based on everything that they've done this year. Just doesn't seem like that kind of team that's going to turn this into a blowout. I could be very wrong here, but I will take ODU and I will take those points.
Lock agreement.
Yes.
Let's go. Lock it up, baby.
Yes.
Oh, lock unity. Yeah, I mean, and also let's remember, like, Old Dominion's got fresher legs. They took last season off.
Yeah. I do think that comes into play though. Like they are hungrier. They got robbed of an entire year. They're 9-3 against the spread this year. Twice they covered as a underdog of 9.5 points or more. I got a 2-for-1 special here. Give me the over. Can I get 52? Where's my number at?
I can get you 52. Yep.
Perfect. I'll take the over in that one because if I like Old Dominion, they're 5-0 against the spread and 4-1 overall when the team records more than 27.4 points. I do think they're going to score a lot of points in this one to get me the cover. So I'm going to go ahead and take the over in this one as well.
Stats and facts. Shout out to Justin Page and the research team.
Yeah,
He's got his docs up. I love when I've got my Google Docs up that's again, like Justin Page does a fantastic job. The entire CBS Sports research team is awesome. But I love when I pull it up and I see the little D up there because it means Danny Kanell also has this thing pulled up and is getting all the good stats and facts.
Also, Danny, you mentioned Old Dominion's record against the spread this year. If you look at Tulsa on the season, they're 7-5, but they're 4-0 as an underdog and only 3-5 as a favorite.
Can't be trusted with that many points. Won't do it. Coming up on the other side, we continue our locks here for episode 1 of the Bowl Locks. We'll be taking a look at a fantastic game in Frisco, Texas, the Armed Forces Bowl, and an in-state rivalry in the Gasparilla Bowl, and more next. All right, let's head out to the Smurf Turf, Albertson Stadium in Boise, Idaho, Kent State, and Wyoming. Wyoming favored by 3. Familiar territory for the Cowboys. Golden Flashes come in with a, I guess you could say it was a very disappointing showing in the MAC championship game, right? No need to be nice about it. They could have played better. They fell behind early. Very disappointing. So they are going to be looking for a bounce back. Wyoming at 6-6 on the season. What do we think about here? And who's got a lock?
I don't have a lock. This is a weird line to me.
So Bud's on Wyoming -3. And I think that it's, because, I make this game 6.5. No, like I don't know what his angle would be. I would take Wyoming with just like the familiar territory, right? I mean, you're used to playing in this stadium. You're used to, this trip. You're used to the elements. But I don't have a strong feel here in this game either myself.
Yeah, it's the classic kind of matchup, and you have like a high-paced, high-scoring, explosive offense going against a much slower-paced, complementary football. We want to win the field position battle. So it's an interesting matchup, and that's kind of what makes it even more difficult to really handicap, because from week to week, Wyoming, it was a different team every week. Like some weeks it was good, some weeks it was bad. Kent State was pretty much, like you said, they really kind of played like crap in the MAC title game, but for the most part, they were pretty consistent. So that kind of leads me to Kent State, but I don't know. I'm staying away from it.
Wind? What's our weather going to be in Boise on, and I know subject to change always.
Yeah, there's nothing worth thinking or knowing about really right now. Okay. It's like right now it's like 6 mile-per-hour winds.
Sad. And we're even going to have a afternoon kickoff with the sun in the sky. Sun powers the wind. I mean, I really thought that it's gonna be windy. It won't be windy in Boise, but something that we can we can at least keep our eyes on. All right, turning our attention to the aforementioned Frisco Bowl in Frisco, Texas. Fantastic game. 23 combined wins between UTSA and San Diego State. The Roadrunners coming in after being crowned the champions of Conference USA. San Diego State looking for a bounce back after a disappointing loss to Utah State in the Mountain West championship game. Jeff Traylor's Roadrunners are 2.5-point favorites, over under a 49.5. Anybody got a lock?
Give me the Tex plus 2.5. I
Mhm.
think this is one of my favorite games of the bowl season. It was at number 7 in my bowl rankings, the highest ranked non-New Year's Six bowl. I think it's an awesome matchup. I think it's going to be a really fun game. I worry about how effective UTSA's run game is going to be against this San Diego State defense, and I think that will impact them offensively overall because everything they do kind of centers around Sincere McCormick being able to run the ball. So give me the Aztecs plus 2.5. I think there's a decent chance they win it, so I'll take the points.
Lock it up. I think San Diego State is the better team. I think they play in the better conference. They've had more success in that conference against better competition. The teams they've struggled against have been the teams that can throw the ball really well. I like Frank Harris, but he's not going to torch them for 400 yards through the air. They're built to stop the run. They see the run every day in practice. I think they're going to run the ball a lot, which is why I'm going to go ahead and take the under in this as well. You're going to see and that's Brady Hoke. They have an identity. It really hasn't changed that much since before he was there and Rocky Long was there. They've always been a physical team, and Brady Hoke has just kind of enhanced it. They are committed to running the football. I think UTSA will get worn down. I think it'll be one of those slow the game down type of games, and I think San Diego State's defense will be the difference. So, give me. I like the way you're thinking too about San Diego State potentially winning the game.
I like the way you're thinking about that too, but more later. Like there's a portion in the show when we might be able to take advantage of such opportunities. All right, let's head to Fort Worth where we've got the Armed Forces Bowl, Army in Missouri, and the Black Knights coming off that disappointing loss to Navy are favored by 3.5 over under around 57. Ooh, right? Isn't that kind of a, huh? I mean, whatever. Let's go, Mizzou. Give me those points. You're going to tell me Missouri's going to be an underdog in this game? I guess, is this an opt-out watch? I mean, maybe so. Maybe it's a motivational watch, but I trust the Alpha Nerd way too much for me to think that I'm not at least sitting on some value. Actually, now that I say it, it's Missouri's run defense. That's the reason why Army's favorite.
Pretty awful. Yeah.
Whatever, I'll stick with it. Just a matter of principle. It's just like Missouri as a 3.5 point underdog. Come on, Tigers, show some pride.
I mean, I'm avoiding betting bowl games with option teams ahead of beforehand. I'm going to wait till the game starts because then I'm going to get an idea of how interested Missouri is in trying to stop it. You know what I mean? Because their rush defense is terrible to begin with. They rank 123rd nationally in EPA against the run, and they are 122nd in success rate against the run, which is not really the best place to be going up against an option offense. So it's really going to be desire in this game. If Mizzou shows up and looks like it's fired up and ready to play and it's ready to tackle this thing and take it on head first, I think the Tigers probably win this game pretty easily. But if they don't, man, it could be an absolute blowout.
Give me Mizzou and the points too. Lock it up. I hate it. I feel like I am the patriot of this show. I usually try to back one of our service academies, but I was just there. I mentioned it. Army couldn't get off the field against Navy's rushing attack. Tyler Beatty, had an incredible year, 5 200 rush yard games. They're committed to the run. I know, with Bazelak out, they're thinking about playing 2 quarterbacks. That concerns me somewhat, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think they're going to be able to run on Army. I'm going to take the over. I think it's a higher number. So this is one of those ones. I think this could be similar because I don't know if Mizzou, they're not going to want to be seeing those guys coming at their ankles either. So I think Army will have some success running it. I think there'll be some big plays in there as well. I wouldn't be surprised if this is similar to the Western Kentucky game, to the Wake Forest game, where it's just a higher scoring game than people think. Because I think the picture is, we're going to keep this low scoring, shorten the game. But I think Army will have some success offensively too with a couple big hitting plays. So give me the over as well. Let's load it up. I'm just spraying the board.
All right, that takes us to Thursday. So a reminder, on Thursday, the 23rd, we are going to be meeting with you at 11 a.m. Eastern time to lay out our next week of locks. But we want to make sure that we've already got that day's picks on deck. So we're going to go ahead and cover those here. So we're going back to Frisco. Shout out to Frisco, Texas, getting the most out of that stadium. North Texas and Miami of Ohio. Both teams come in 6-6. Miami of Ohio favored by 3, over under a 54. We're 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. Anyone got a lock? No.
I've got no idea. I will say my lean is toward Miami of Ohio, but I would be leaning a little more if it was under 3, where it's -3 everywhere now. It opened at -4. If it gets down to like the 2.5, 2 range before kickoff, I might take a flyer. I might also consider the over, but there's nothing here that I love enough to lock up.
It's a weird game. I would
Yeah.
lean toward Miami. Brett Gabbert, younger brother of Blaine's, been pretty solid. 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I gave it out when I gave our picks with Brady Quinn and our pick show, but I didn't love it. You know, Seth Luttrell probably saved his job with a strong finish to the end. They started 1-6. They were able to knock off UTSA, and one of the shockers like blew them out. So I just don't know what I'm going to get out of these two teams. I don't love either side.
I had to do a HQ segment of like name your favorite bowl games, and I did Frisco. And right as I was on air, I said, "Oh man, I really hope they know it was UTSA San Diego State." I do not have the talking points ready for North Texas Miami if Chris Hassel goes to me right now, but it ended up working out. Then the nightcap on Thursday, we're going to be going to Tampa for the Gasparilla Bowl. UCF and Florida skeleton coaching staff. I mean, normally not Billy Napier being out there. I think Emory Jones is going to play in the bowl game, but then transfer after. Did I catch that? That was some Wednesday night.
Is that what
He's definitely leaving? I saw that, but is he playing?
Florida.
Anthony Richardson's out too with this injury. He's getting cleaned up.
Yeah, he had the little meniscus surgery.
Yes. It says he plans to enter the transfer portal following the Gasparilla Bowl. So that means he's planning to play.
Hey. That means we've got ourselves an audition. Emory Jones is playing for an offer in the transfer portal.
I've always seen enough. I'm just kidding. That was mean.
In Florida, favored by 6.5, over under 55.5. Anybody got a lock?
I'm not locking it up, but like, it's so hard because I feel like if this is an actual football game, even for all the problems Florida had, they should cover this spread. So that's where I'm leaning, but because of all the problems Florida has had, because of the motivation questions, I'm not locking anything up, but I would lean Florida. It's like an SEC team going against an AAC team. You kind of typically, history suggests, take the SEC team in these spots.
But this also is the ultimate, we didn't want to be there. But you would think against guys that they probably know from high school, from spending time, like they're not going to just hang it up against guys that they know, but I do not. I would lean the over. I think this is one of those games that could be a little wackier. I mean, Samford put up, 50 plus on this Florida defense.
But the new UCF offense,
I know.
they just run the ball.
Mikey Keene, he's going to be able to. I don't have a good feel for this game. I don't know. I think this was one of those ones I looked at and I was like, kind of glad Florida State's not playing in a bowl if it's going to be one of these.
Pass.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have it hooked up, so we just had to spin the mic down. Let's take it to the money line sprinkles. What do you have? I've got 1, 2, 3 sprinkles. What about y'all? I'll go ahead and give you Buds. Bud sprinkles are Marshall and ODU.
Now, are we starting a separate sprinkles competition for the bowls, or are we just tacking on?
Yes, we're starting from scratch because that was awful.
All right. So Bud has, what was that?
Marshall and Old Dominion.
Okay, hold on one second. Tom. Sorry, I should have prepared this before.
Here, I'll go ahead and give you mine.
So Bud has Marshall and Old Dominion. I'll add the numbers in later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got Utah State,
Okay.
San Diego State,
Okay.
and Missouri.
Ooh, okay. Daniel.
I'll go San Diego State,
Okay.
Missouri, and Kent State.
All right. We've got a lot of crossover here. My bowl sprinkles are I am taking Marshall, I am taking Missouri, and I'm taking UCF just in case.
Do we just have a lock infinity on Missouri? Do we all three?
No. Oh, yeah, we do.
Oh, no, Unity.
Unity.
Yeah. Because
I thought Bud threw it in there too.
No.
he had Marshall.
Gotcha.
Okay. We haven't tried this in weeks. Let me see if I can pull this up. Tell me if it goes blue screen or tell me if y'all can see it.
Yes.
Okay.
I
got
can
it.
see it. Mhm.
Okay. To review, Tom is going to be on Coastal Carolina minus 10.5. The Fresno UTEP over 51.5. BYU UAB over 54.5. Utah State plus 7.5. Marshall plus 5. ODU plus 9.5. San Diego State plus 2.5. Chip is on App State minus 3. Toledo minus 10. App State Western Kentucky under 67. The Utah State plus 7.5, Missouri plus 3.5, Old Dominion plus 9.5, and BYU minus 6.5. Danny, spraying the board. Western Kentucky plus 3, Fresno UTEP under 52, BYU UAB under 55, Liberty minus 8.5, Missouri plus 3.5, Old Dominion plus 9.5, San Diego State plus 2.5, the Tulsa-Old Dominion over 52, San Diego State UTSA under 50, Oregon State Utah State under 67.5, and Missouri Army over 57. Bud, dad of the year, very disciplined. App State minus 3, Fresno UTEP under 52, Coastal Northern Illinois under 64, Oregon State minus 7, Wyoming minus 3. Lock, we got several bar fights on the board. The first one is App State and Western Kentucky. Bud and Chip on App State, Danny on Western Kentucky. The next one, Fresno UTEP total. We've got Danny and Bud on the under, Tom on the over. A lock fight for BYU UAB between Tom and Danny on the total. Tom is on the over. Danny is on the under. We've got a bar fight for Utah State, Oregon State. Tom and Chip on Utah State. Bud on Oregon State. We've got a lock agreement, Missouri plus 3.5 for Danny and Chip. We've got the UNITY for Old Dominion plus 9.5, and a lock agreement, Tom and Danny on San Diego State plus 2.5. Sprinkles are Marshall, Mizzou, and UCF for Tom. Utah State, San Diego State, Mizzou for Chip. San Diego State, Mizzou for Danny, and Marshall and Old Dominion for Bud. Woo! For those of you who are listening to the audio product, you're about to see a flood of pods coming into your feed over the next week or so. We are going to be sitting down and we're going to be doing bowl season daily. It was something that we did last year. Basically, every morning when you get up, there's going to be a very short, about 10 to 15 minute podcast just previewing that day's bowl action. They will include picks, sure, but also just kind of a table setter to get you set for what's going to be going on in college football in the bowl season that day. We may also have some breakout videos for that, which you can always see at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/cover3. You can follow him on Twitter at Danny Kanell. You can follow him at Tom Fornelli. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.